Hey everyone, this is Suhana Bhattacharya, and you're listening to the Goodfirms Leaders Roundtable podcast. As the IT sector expands, more and more people are starting their own IT businesses. And to help them make the right decisions, I sit down with the top CEOs of IT companies and discuss everything about trends, technology, leadership, and more. For this episode, we have Jessica Hennessey, CEO of an award winning web design and digital marketing agency, 3 Media Web. Now, Jessica started her career as a senior consultant at Oracle Corporation, and before heading the role of a CEO, she worked as a project manager, digital strategist, and more. Now, with 3 Media Web, she's using her years of experience to take the company to newer heights. So, I welcome you to the Good Firm Leaders Roundtable podcast, Jessica. And anything that you'd like to add to the introduction, something that I might have missed?
No, you got it great. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, it's great to have you here. And from the time 3 Media Web came into existence, which I think is 2001, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure the company has witnessed a sea of changes in web design, from development practices to maybe customer demands. Almost everything has taken a 360-degree shift. And lately, the demand for minimalism in web design has grown significantly. So, before we really dive into the topic and discuss more about it, could you please tell our audience what minimalism means in web designing and what benefit it brings?
Sure. So, from a design standpoint, to me, minimalism is really making a design that is very easy to navigate, free of distractions, and really makes the users have the ability to understand what the company is selling, in a very quick way. But I think in many ways, it means different things to different people and maybe different things to different industries as well. So I think that's important to kind of keep in mind.
Exactly. I think that is the beauty of minimalism because it differs from industry to industry or from client to client.
Exactly.
So, minimalism, the art of less, is beneficial to many websites. But what are the factors to consider before embarking on a web design project in order to successfully implement minimalism in your design?
As a business, you really need to be crystal clear on what your message is. If you're going with a minimalist design, there aren't a lot of opportunities to elaborate on what you want to say or demonstrate what it is that you do. So you really need to be very specific. Make sure that you have other content on the website in different areas of your website that you can make more robust. Make sure that you have a lot of copy there from an SEO standpoint so that the search engines can leverage that content. But if you're talking about your main website, from a minimalist design standpoint, there's going to be less opportunity. So the more specific you can be, the more clear you can be, and then leave all of the other kind of, be it, marketing copy or SEO rich copy that still need to go someplace on the website.
Hmm. Right. And I think you painted a good picture of what actually minimalism means. It's just mean being precise, being concise, and having a crystal clear on what your message is.
Exactly.
So, what constitutes a minimalist design and practice, such as characteristics or specific design elements that must be present to actually say that your design falls under minimalism?
Sure. So I think the biggest item that you're going to see is that there's going to be lots of white space or lots of empty space. There'll be use of font. So I'm going to say a lot of your design is going to come from font usage, be it different sizes, different colors, different weights. And then the images that you use are also going to be very targeted so that it moves the conversation forward. I think those are kind of the three main areas that I consider for being minimalist.
Okay, so many people may get really confused that having too much of white space is good or not. So, what about that? What do you have to say about that?
So I am a fan of having white space. The reality of it is when you're going with this kind of minimalist design, you're trying to lead the user down a particular path. So if you have a design that is very robust, have a lot of images, have a lot of links, really leaving it up to the user to figure out where it is that they want to go. By leveraging white space, you're giving the user time to kind of process what that information is in front of them. And in my opinion, really allows people to absorb your content easier. It's going to be easier for them to remember. So I'm never afraid of white space. I like white space or empty space because it just, I don't know, it allows the content to breathe. It gives the user time to absorb what's there.
Wow, that is some good understanding of web design, and it's really powerful when you say that you're not afraid of white spaces in general.
Yeah, yeah.
So in web design, I think there is a fine line between engaging an audience versus distracting them. So what interactive elements should be used to strike a balance between them?
Sure. I think the most common one is going to be what I'll call content expansion or swapping content based on the user clicks. So you might have an accordion, you might have a couple of different links that are going to swap whatever the features are or whatever it is that you're trying to talk about. It allows you to present a lot more content in a smaller space. And since the user is driving that interactivity, the content can again be consumed at the speed and order that the user wants. I think it allows them to be a little bit more in control of the situation.
That is quite important when a design of a website is being thought of.
Yeah.
So every website design and development project has several steps.
Mhm.
Please share some insights into how 3 Media Web developed a holistic web design process to produce beautiful and exceptional websites.
So the best projects really allow for time to look at what has or hasn't worked in the past. So that meaning it would include a large portion of user analytics, different things that contribute to the company's success, what the users need to understand, what your competitors are doing. So in a more simplistic way, we could say we follow really analysis, design, development, QA, launch, and support. And when you have enough time at the beginning, at that analysis piece, and I really feel like that is honestly the most important piece, the rest of those elements are going to happen a lot more smoothly. So what tends to happen when you don't do that analysis up front is that analysis kind of seeps into the later parts of those processes. So you'll get into design and you'll be 90% through the design and you'll start showing it to somebody and somebody will say, oh, but you didn't think about this. And then you have to go back and do redo. Or when you get into development or content entry, you've forgotten that there's a piece of information that needs to be there that you have forgotten about. So if you don't do the analysis up front, it does end up kind of happening throughout the process, but it actually tends to make the process a lot longer.
So proper analysis and seeing what has worked in the past and what hasn't surely helps 3 Media Web develop amazing websites. So, what are some do's and don'ts of the minimalist web design process? What are some of the difficulties you encounter when implementing the minimalist web design style?
So where I think it sometimes can be a challenge for companies is if you are going to go with a minimalist design, it really needs to be an entire branding strategy or an entire approach from across the company, across all departments. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do it in isolation from the other marketing that you do, because that's just going to send a confusing message. So if you want to have a minimalist web design, you really need to commit to it company-wide, be it in your messaging, your product, UX, your literature, support, whatever you want to call it. So other difficulties that are related is that if you don't have buy-in from all of your website stakeholders, then everyone is fine saying that they're interested in a minimalist design until they realize they only have a couple hundred words in a single screenshot to explain a feature. So oftentimes when you start getting product marketing involved or customer service involved or account management involved, sales involved, everybody's like, wait, I can't work within this tiny little bucket that you've given me. So you have to get that buy-in from everybody. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Actually, regardless whether you're trying to go with minimalism or not. But I find if you are trying to go with minimalism, that is probably one of the most critical pieces that everybody has to understand how to say more with less words, with less images, with less illustration.
Exactly. And as 3Media Web, the company must have worked on a number of projects in which you have employed the minimalist web design style. So, could you maybe share a few of your projects with our audience and listeners so that others can be inspired too?
Sure. I want to really highlight one in particular. It's a company called Next Thing RPO. So nxtthingrpo.com. One, it's just a visually stunning website. So even though I would say it's probably the closest thing to a minimalist design that we've done recently. So I just want to add in, I guess, minimalism doesn't mean not visual. So you'll see if you go to that website, really it's quite visually stunning, very impactful. Every word, every font, every layout just makes it very easy for the user to follow along, find what they need. And I think the biggest, success that I can point to with this specifically is that since they launched their website 2 months ago, their organic results have actually tripled, which is not typical. Typically, when you launch a website, regardless, again, whether it's minimalist or not, usually there is a drop in organic search when you immediately launch the site, usually for that 2-month period. So I would say this was a very successful website redesign, both from a minimalist kind of an approach, as well as just the overall information architecture and structure that was put in place.
And I am actually watching the website right now, and it's so clear. The CTA, the opening line, everything actually is so much on point. Really.
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So finishing off, we would like to know how has been your experience with our platform, and has Goodfirms been an integral part of your organization's growth?
I would have to say yes. You guys have been very easy to work with. You are consistently one of our top 3 referral sources for people coming to the website. And so with Goodfirms, really it's just consistent traffic. I know that we're always going to get it. I know that it's something that I can rely on, which I think is really key, especially when you're working with a firm like yourself.
Absolutely. And we are so glad that we could play such an important role in your organization growth. And we hope to always deliver the same amount of results that we have been doing till now. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on what minimalist web design is and how to actually implement it. And I'm sure the new entrepreneurs or the new listeners listening to us will learn a lot about it. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge on Goodfirms Leaders Roundtable podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.